Hi, my name is Theodore Cottingham, and I'm starting a school for creators to be the creator of all things, the creator of all creation again, the creator of you, the recreator of you. Will you birth a new you through you, the solidification of, or the amorphous one? Or are you amorphous? Or have you morphed into something else? Are you creating? Are you happy with your life? Contented? Are you really content? Drink more coffee. I put chocolate in mine again today. Tastes good and it feels great. Kind of chilly in here. It's like 12 or 14 degrees in Eureka Springs. Oh my gosh. And even a bit of snow outside, ice everywhere. Hey, I love you. I do. And that's why I'm starting a school to create creators. So you can recreate you, the completion of, and not just know about God or a creator, the creator, source, universe, God, Allah, whatever you would like to name it, whatever you're more comfortable with. I suggest there's a conflict that's going on in your mind. It's you and the real you. Or is it you and not you? One word. Not you, a word. Let's make it one and address it that way. Who is the real you? Will the real you please stand up and make videos and teach and crown the King of Kings, that's you, the King of all creation, that creates all things new again? Will you create a new heaven and a new earth, beginning with you? I suggest if you're not happy with you, you may not be listening to you enough. Enough for what? Enough to be taught by you that you are the creator and that you will create you again, and that is the passion of God. Does God have passion? Emotions? Hurt? Where does God hurt? Where do you hurt? Pardon me, I woke up in the middle of the night or two ago, and for no apparent reason, all of a sudden, it's like the first thought that I had was PTSD. You know, So many people are taking so many pain pills, pills for this, pills for that, pills for anxiety, depression. They've accepted the answer that a pharmaceutical production of something molecular can heal their spirit, heal their mind, or just simply make it better to placate them. Or do you? Are you one of them? I have known depression, hurtfulness. I know what it is to bleed. Non-molecularly. I ask you to ask the right questions. I ask you to ask the hard questions. I ask you to ask you the questions, sitting still, and let there be light in you that forms an answer, that forms associations. And creativity comes into play, where you create the information, the linkages thereof, so that you have comprehension and motivation. Where does that come from? Motivation to do something about it? I suggest if you aren't creating, you're stopped up. Constipated? If you're not creating, what's flowing through your life? If you aren't listening to you, your still small voice of, in the wee hours of the night, the wee hours of the morning, where you take time to get to know you in stillness and romance and love, and have a loving relationship with you, you're missing something. How can you quell the war within? The anger, the angry beast that resides in your brain? Or is that it? What's controlling you? What's promulgating the endless battle between your ears? I suggest to you, you are the creator, and that you created you long before time began as we know it. Where do you think all these stars came from? Why are there speed limits in classical physics? Nothing can travel faster than the speed of light? Oh, come now. What are you willing to know? What are you willing to learn from the infinite, eternal, immortal essence of you? O great King, will you enter your kingdom? Will you no longer be devised by this between your ears? Will you no longer be devised and molded by the words of someone else that wants to make you into their image and tell you how to be, what to be, and when to be where? I'd like you to create. Start with you. Start with your talent. Start with anything. Creating, painting, writing, and taking time to hear you. Because you are not disconnected from God, no matter what your name for it was or is. You are not disconnected from God, and you never were. I suggest the whole concept of saving a soul is a convoluted construct that came through what we call Christianity. I suggest that if anyone saves you, it's you. There's no theory that's going to save you. There's no book that's going to save you. There's no ritual or practice that's going to save you. There's no set of actions or practices that are going to transform you into a new creation, to be the energy of the Most High that operates in the cosmos like we did before time, space, and gravity. There's nothing that can help you be the real you and come into your kingdom and manifest your light and creativity except your voice. Your voice, the voice of your word, the voice of your inner spirit, your mind, that tells you you're the King of Kings, you're the Christ, that you are an angel because you were, and you still are. You just haven't known it because all these theories of all these religions have concretized some kind of concept and robbed us of our privilege, our divine right to be kings. Kings in what? Our kingdom. Is our mind our kingdom? Is the promised land our kingdom that is entered through our mind and not a church service or a little prayer or a recitation of prayers? Ask, and you shall receive. What are you willing to ask, and who are you willing to ask? Are you willing to ask you? Are you willing to ask the real you? Are you willing to take time to be still and come into the Holy of Holies that is between your ears? I suggest to you that between your ears is the first temple, talked about in the Bible, and the second temple. Well, who created the first and the second? Did God create the first one and the Lord God created the second one? And the Lord God is the offspring that created what it wanted to, created its wants and its creativity and separation? Are you in separation of you? Are you in separation? Are you a house divided? Are you a kingdom divided against yourself? Lo and behold, I ask you a hard question, a simple question. Will you surrender to yourself? Doesn't that sound odd? Will you surrender to being you, the real you, the authentic you, the original you, the powerful you, the creative you, and create you again? Oh God. Think it robbery. Think it not robbery to be equal with God, my friend. Jesus is the pattern. How could he come into the works that he did? He began to have knowledge. Where did that knowledge come from? On high? Where did Jesus tell us the kingdom is? within? Is it within here, my chest, my sternum? Or is it in my mind? Is it in your mind? What does your mind do? What is your mind doing to you? Can you eradicate the power of the beast? First, by understanding it, coming into an awareness that the concepts and definitions that we've been given don't hold water. They're defective. They're not definitive. They were simply destructive of the real purpose of our wings, of us being here, the knowledge of who we are and why and what we have the capacity to create. My name is Theodore Cottingham, and I'm starting a school for creators. Creators who don't decimate their lives by trying to satisfy an insatiable need that capitalism creates, the need for dollars, yen, rubles, whatever your currency. Do you live by money? We all seem to need it, granted, in this particular 3D world. But are we limited to this 3D world? Are we limited to dollars? Are we limited to time, space, and gravity? Jesus said, if you believe in me, you will do the works I do and greater. That's what I suggest every person, every individual of every color, tribe, and tongue has the capacity to perform, to do, to become. Become the real you, the Christ anointed. Will you anoint you? Will you not be at war with you anymore? I suggest you have the power over you, regardless of any medication, drugs, addiction, no matter what experiences you have been through, no matter what you suffer, you are still the real you underneath that flesh you're wearing. And the real you, light loves and loves light. That is not subject to our energy spectrum, much less a little bit of visible light, a little bit of slice of energy that we seem to hear, compute the meanings thereof, and somehow interpret what photons deliver or receive or projected are. What are you willing to learn from the living God that's you? When you finally realize and submit, surrender, that you're not separate from it. This mind that you carry around is God. It's not God's mind. It's what God is. God is the substance of, this is the creatorship of one that recreates itself. And we have the capacity. And the model we've been given, the best model I know of, by far. I only know of one that seems complete in the message. Jesus the pattern. I suggest, Jesus never wanted anyone to worship him at all. That wasn't part of his thinking, his desire. His desire, I suggest to you, his motivation was for you to enter your kingdom. When he saw, when he entered, when he was able to experience the teaching system of his father, mother, his divine right, his natural birthright, he learned. And then, at one point, he started preaching and teaching, going about the countryside, sharing what he had been taught, so that everyone would come into the fullness of their kingdom and be creators and regain their angelhood status, grow their wings on their back like they've been imaged to us? Or are our wings created between our ears, in our mind, not in the factory of collusion with that which wants to control, constrict, and condemn? I suggest you are the most beautiful one there is. Men, women, children. Have faith. If you have faith in anything, consider having faith in the fact that you were never separate from God. Whatever you call God. Whatever you consider source, higher power, the creativeness of the Creator. Faith? Have faith in your ability to hear the real you. Have faith in your ability to overcome the temptation to create you in isolation of your power and privilege. Have faith. Have faith in your ability to love. And all the wraparound ideas and concepts of some vicarious atonement, and the idea that you don't have to do anything. You just say a prayer and you accept and you wait. And you don't create anything. Is bunk, bull. And I suggest to you, those who teach that are ignorant. They don't know. Because if they would spend the time, if the teachers of the law, if the teachers that teach you to be separate, if all these teachers that teach you to sit on a pew and listen to them every week, if all these teachers that teach a Bible, a Quran, or whatever holy book, and say, submit to it, and I'll tell you what it means. If they would come in to the holy place, the Holy of Holies, and sit still and calm the raging sea that exists between their ears. If they realize that Bible verse that says, "Be still and know that I am God," pertains to them, first person, for them to originate it within them. That they can quell the war within. They can quell hell. They can extinguish the constant condemnation. Because the accuser of the brethren, what a phrase, the accuser that's always there, it's between your ears. It's the idea, the concept, the word, the imagery, the work of the imagination, that you're separate, and you were never separate. But you are the creator, and you condemn you, or you forgive you, exonerate you, and work in your power. Not to consolidate it for someone else's dominion or authority or use. I suggest there's another way to operate. There are kingdom values. That cannot be purchased. I suggest to you that your mind is the holy place, the Holy of Holies. And you can hear you because you can hear God, and God is you. If you will not isolate the territory of your mind, the kingdom of your reality, and you can construct a different model which you adhere to, which you create. With all the other surrendered, all the other angels who are one mind of. I suggest the race of God. I suggest God is a race of beings interconnected with one consciousness. Please don't make God in your image as a unitary male or a image of something. Certainly not at a desk with a gavel to judge you at the end of your life. I condemn you not. Please don't condemn you. Who am I? I'm just one little guy in Eureka Springs making a video, standing in front of my telephone, my little recording device, drinking coffee and having a good time. I'm creating. What am I creating? A conduit, a construct? Or what am I decontextualizing and recontextualizing? The life of Christ? Wait a minute. Is that the right term? Life of Christ? Or will you live it? Will you be it? Will you construct the Christ right here? That's you with your face, your terms, your diction and grammar, your lexicon, your neurons, your synapses. Your kingdom? Will you create? Will you write? Will you listen? Will you value your words? When I began questing to know God, it wasn't long before I felt like God answered me. At the most odd time. I was sitting at my desk in my office working, literally writing, working on a client's work. And all of a sudden, within me registered, you don't value my words. I laid my pen down, slid my chair back. I was aghast. Because at that point, I had begun writing down even a few phrases, sentences, things that I felt like were originating outside of my ego. So at first, it's like I wanted to argue. I suddenly was defensive for a few seconds. And I thought, if this is God telling me this, then I must change. If I think I'm valuing what God has given me, what God tells me I'm not valuing it, how can I show it value? So I did multiple things. Over the next few days, weeks, whatever, I got multiple yellow tablets, put them in everywhere, cars, house, rooms, pens. And every time that I thought maybe what I call God was talking to me, I wrote it down. I dated it. I started organizing it. I valued it. I reviewed it. I would ponder. I learned to ask questions. Words came that encouraged me to ask the hard questions. A few months later, I felt like God addressed me and said, you don't value your word. Boy, once again, my knee-jerk reaction was, wait a minute, but. Okay. So if this is what I call God replying to me, answering me, and God says, I don't value my own word, how do I respond? So I started thinking about it, pondering, evaluating, considering. So all of a sudden, that information that came to me, that I valued, that I pondered in my heart, my head, my mind, my being, my spirit, began to have a real effect on my behavior. So I was in my own business. So when my kids phoned me in the afternoon, Daddy, what time are you going to be home? If I said 6 o'clock, all of a sudden it became important to me to be there at 6 to fulfill my word because I valued it. I cared about my word and behavior. I wanted to be one, not at war with each other. So all of a sudden, appointments and meetings and punctuality and how I worded my communications with other people, my wife, my kids, started changing. I suggest to you, there are so many origination points of conflict between us and the real us. The us that is perfect. Not perfect in man's eyes or woman's eyes, but perfect, not in isolation, perfect in one unity of the mind, of the consciousness, of the Creator. And every place we have fomented failure, fomented isolation, and constructed concepts which increase our isolation and begin to rely on self-justification and finger-pointing and blame, separates us from the real us and creates all of this conflict. What if this is not the real world? What if the real world, that the real you, the original you, the immaculate you, the beautiful you, the child of you that you grow up with your own voice, internal, begins to mature and be one with your flesh so that you can do great deeds to receive accolades, be awarded achievements, earn great sums of money? Or do you become one with yourself? For your brethren? For what purpose do you become one? One consciousness of what? Will you heal this? Will you do as Jesus did? As you experience healing, forgiveness, and the tender caresses of your real spirit to you as a mortal, will the immortal you teach you, the mortal you, to be one with it, so that you're not constricted by flesh? And you begin to learn how not to be controlled by this, no matter what you have suffered, the injustice of, the atrocities of, the brutality of. What are you willing to do, my friend? So I'm starting a school, and I do not have all of the answers. I'm not Solomon. I'm me. And I ask you to be you, the perfect you. The perfect you is simply the one that is not isolated from the real you, that you unitize, not where two come together in a symbiotic relationship that uses each other and maintains their individuality or their dependence on each other. What if there's another way to look at this? What if you become what it is and it becomes what you are? telephone going off. What if God is calling? Is God calling you? Is the real you calling you? What are you willing to accept the interpretation of? What are you willing to be? Belligerent no more? Arrogant no more? Will you put yourself down no more? Will you like you? Will you love you? Will you walk in your power and begin creating? Will you begin writing? Will you begin to ask your internal voice, God, you, whatever your name for it, are you willing to meet the teacher that will teach you all things, the teacher that will never leave you or forsake you because it's the real you that you thought was separate. The teacher will teach you. And the teacher will teach you in ways that don't conform to man's expectation. If you want to tell God how to teach you, forget it. God is very humble, quite humble, the humblest of all. And God will come. And God will begin to share in phrases and sentences at first, probably, or at least that's what I experienced. You may experience something differently. Will you value what you begin getting? Will you grow it up? Will you mature the King of Kings to open your kingdom, to come out and create a massive new design? I love you and I bless you this day. My name is Theodore Cottingham. Thank you for having coffee with me today. A cold day in Eureka. Snow flurries outside. So wherever you are, I love you. And I bless the love of the Lamb that will recreate it. Please love all people equally. And first and foremost, love you. And forgive who? Everyone of everything. So all the brutality that has reigned against you, to war you, to keep you riled up and activate itself, activate the activity that conquers you, where you're only a consumer and not a creator, you have the power over. Open your kingdom. Become the real me that wears your face, has your name, and is the real you with power, grace, and glory. I love you and I honor you this day. I bless you. I enjoy honoring you, honoring people. Kings bow before kings. So a school for creators is coming forth. School of the 21st century Christ. Share these words, please. Share the video. Share your life. Create life anew and experience the joy of the Lord. Are you the Lord? You are the Lord God? You are the Lord God that created you? Did you construct the separation that conquered you? And now you're coming in to the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you are still the creator that can recreate you back into being the creator and have the mind that's formidable against you no more. Yay! I love you, bless you, and honor you this day. Share these words, the 21st Century Christ School, here and now, for you to be at. TheodoreCottingham.com. Good day.